You ever heard the phrase be there or be square? That's what we're going to talk about on this episode.
Mogul Motivation, empowering and inspiring entrepreneurs and dream chasers worldwide, 1 week at a time. Presented by True Stories Media. And I'm your host, Antoine Twiz Taylor.
Hello everybody, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Mogul Motivation. Welcome back. I'm happy that you are here. If this is your first time listening, this podcast is for the aspiring entrepreneur trying to get over that hump and make things happen. This podcast is for anybody with a dream that wants to go forward and accomplish that dream. Yesterday, I got into a very frustrating situation. It wasn't nothing serious, it was just came down to some planning and, some deliberation on some things. And I got very frustrated in the process of going over these plans and trying to figure things out. And it went on for about a good 30 minutes before we had to stop and realize that it's not working because we're boxing ourselves in. Right? We are constricting ourselves to a certain date. We are constricting ourselves to a certain area and a certain time frame. And we're trying to force it to make it work. And once we admitted what our fears were in regards to planning on this certain project, and once we admitted that we were uncomfortable with how things were going within the planning process, it's like a burden was lifted off our shoulders. I felt better. I saw clearer. And I understood that because we were trying to force something within a certain time frame, within a certain area, that we were frustrated because it clearly was not going to work that way. But once we expanded the boundaries, started looking at new dates, started looking at new areas, that's when things started to flow and things worked out. And it's like all that frustration, anxiety, and worry instantly evaporated. Now, again, this situation was very harmless, was very small in the grand scheme of things, but isn't that how it is in creatives' lives and entrepreneurship? That's how it is for me, at least. I know for a fact when it comes to writing, when it comes to my podcasting, when it comes to any creative or business endeavor that I embark on, once I have something in my mind that I want it to be a certain way, I want it to look a certain way, I want it to go a certain way, it's very hard for me to get out of that box. Even though it's necessary for me to get out of that box, it's hard for me. It's difficult for me to get out of that box because as soon as I conceive an idea, I want that idea to come to fruition just how I conceived it in my mind. And in reality, that might not be the best way for that idea to come to fruition. Just because you conceive it a certain way in your mind isn't the way you need to see it in reality, ladies and gentlemen. So that's what I'm talking about on this episode. We have to get down to the square root of our problems in entrepreneurship, the square root of our problems in our personal life, the square root of our problems in our creative lives, the square root of our problems in our careers. We are trying to force a circle into a hole that's cut out into a square. It's not going to work. So at that point, we have to step back and assess, why do I want it to look a certain way? Why do I want it to be this way? Why do I want it to be in this area? Why do I want it to be just like this, how I see it in my mind? That doesn't mean just because you are tweaking something that it's not going to be like your original vision. In fact, it's going to morph into this world much better than how you conceive it in your mind. Trust me, I'm living proof of that. I'm proof of that when it comes to my books, and I'm proof of that when it comes to certain projects I'm working on now. The way I conceived it in my mind was simply the blueprint, but the way it's coming into fruition in the real world is the way God wants it to be. It's going to be much better. We always think our plans is going to be better than God's plans. God's plans is always going to be more elaborate, more intricate, more better than whatever we can imagine in our minds. The square root of our problems is we are trying to force something that isn't meant to be in the first place. It's not meant for you to do it over here. It's not meant for you to do it this way. It's not meant for you to go down this career path, but you are frustrated. You have anxiety. You are worrying. You are making things 10 times harder on yourself because you want it to be this way. Sometimes you got to step back, let go, reassess, and get to the square root of your problem. And the square root of your problem is you are simply trying to force a circle into a square hole. If you want to be there, you can't be square. If you want to get to where you're going, you have to be open to your vision changing shapes, changing sizes, changing colors. You think because it's changing shapes, colors, and sizes that it's not the same vision. It's the same vision. It's the same DNA. It's the same blueprint, but it just evolved. It's better than what you imagine in your mind. It's better than what you originally conceived. You just have to trust the fact that God gave you this vision, not for any old reason. It wasn't an accident. God gave you this vision to execute and to see it through. But only you have to remove these walls, remove these blocks, and allow that change to take hold. So that's my message this week, everybody. Very short, very brief, straight to the point. Let's continue to work. Let's continue to imagine reality. The square root of your problems is simply that. You are working with a square hole when you have a circle. You have a circumference, 360 degrees. You have to go to a shape, to a hole that's going to fit that circle, that's going to fit that perfect vision you have in your mind. Be open to the change of the colors. Be open to the change of the shapes. Be open to the change of the sizes. Be open to the change of the location for your vision so it can be exactly what you want it to be, which is abundance and freedom in your entrepreneurial life, in your personal life, in your career life, whatever it may be. So if this podcast has benefited you in any way, shape, or form, I ask for two things as always. Number one, please leave a 5-star review. And number two, pass it on to a friend who may benefit from it as well. Have a great day, everybody. I'll talk to you next week.